When Jimmy Johnson was coaching the NFL's Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, he bumped heads with owner Jerry Jones despite winning Super Bowls. Why? Because Jerry wanted the spotlight and valued promoting the Cowboys as a brand as opposed to winning. Well, the Los Angeles Lakers have taken that approach in the NBA. Led by Jeannie Buss, the Lakers has turned into an organization that no longer prioritizes winning, but cares more about the flash and fluff over substance. Remember, she chased Jerry West, the logo, out of town. They used to be the crown jewel of Los Angeles, but because of their complacency and refusal to make tough decisions to win, it is now the Dodgers. I'll explain it on Conversation Piece. Welcome to Gerald Khalil's Conversation Piece. I share my thoughts on social content in sports, politics, and entertainment. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So if you talk to some Laker fans, they'll tell you that the Lakers are one of the best teams in the league, that they're a threat to win their 18th title, because they've got Anthony Davis, and of course, the king, LeBron James. But there's another segment of Laker fans that'll tell you that post Kobe Bryant, this organization has turned into a joke. Now, it started in 2018 when Hall of Famer Magic Johnson, then the Lakers president of basketball operations, had a power struggle with current Laker executive Rob Pelinka over the attempt to fire coach Luke Walton. Buss, Pelinka, and senior advisor Kurt Rambis wanted to retain Walton. So with Magic feeling that he didn't have any power in the organization, he quit. This despite being the person responsible for delivering LeBron James to the Lakers. Well, they ended up firing Walton a year later anyway, and ended up hiring Frank Vogel, who helped guide them to a championship in the COVID year of 2020. But despite Frank Vogel being the best coach since Phil Jackson, they fired him 2 years later in 2022. Why? Because Pelinka and Buss didn't think Vogel did enough to integrate Russell Westbrook. And this was a total joke because rumors were that the acquisition of Westbrook was pushed by LeBron, despite anyone who knew anything about basketball knew this wasn't a good fit. This was just another example of LeBron using his influence to control roster decisions. Next up was Darvin Ham. Now, Ham had been an assistant coach for years before landing the Lakers job. He had a good reputation and seemed to be a player's coach. In his first season as coach, the Lakers struggled throughout the season and managed to make the playoffs as a play-in team. But despite the struggles, the Lakers got hot in the playoffs and went to the Western Conference Finals before being swept by eventual champion Denver Nuggets. In his second season, he led his team to the NBA Cup championship. The Lakers season ended with them losing in the playoffs, though, once again to Denver in 5 games. Now, despite this moment of success, Ham was accused of being a bad head coach. He was criticized for his rotations and scheme. Pelinka and the front office believed that the roster was good enough despite Ham having to deal with a piece that didn't fit in his first season, Westbrook, and D'Angelo Russell's continued no-show in the playoffs. Darvin got all the blame. But was it his fault? You see, he shouldn't have been hired in the first place. The Lakers had originally targeted Tyron Lue. He was a former player for the Lakers, and he was a former coach of LeBron. He had guided the Cleveland Cavaliers to their first and only NBA title in 2016. He was more than qualified, but not to the Lakers. They offered him a shorter deal with less money and wanted to pick his coaching staff. And Lue, being a smart man, he declined the offer and went to coach the Clippers instead. But fast forward to Ham, who was disrespected in the media and soon by his players, he was eventually fired. The descriptions ranged from being a bad coach to incompetent. During the time of the Ham scrutiny, LeBron was hosting or co-hosting a podcast with JJ Redick, a former player and analyst with ESPN. Now, this led to speculation because once Ham was fired, Redick was being interviewed for the Lakers coaching position and was deemed as the front runner to get the position. He was being hailed as the next Pat Riley, despite not having any coaching experience on either the pro, collegiate, or high school level. And even that wasn't without its drama. Now, the Lakers decided to interview Dan Hurley, the coach who guided the UConn Huskies to back-to-back NCAA championships. Hurley, who was actually offered the job, he declined the offer and he returned to UConn. It was only then that Redick was hired as the Lakers coach. So, with the hiring of a person as coach with no experience whatsoever, whether as a head coach or assistant, was supposed to be an improvement over the coach they fired? Right? Well, let's see. After 26 games thus far in the 2024-25 season, Redick has coached the Lakers to a 14-12 record. After 26 games last year, Darvin Ham coached the Lakers to a 15-11 record, which included an NBA Cup. Now, maybe Redick's record will improve over time, but the early feedback is that he's only offering smashed up clipboards. And LeBron, with Redick's blessing, has already taken time away from the team. Now, tell me if this is an improvement over Darvin Ham.
To you or to the team? There has to be some ownership, and I think when a group is not performing well, which happens, and it happens to bad teams, it happens to good teams, it happens to great teams, you can splinter, and it's easy to not want the ownership, particularly when it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. We're all embarrassed. It's not a game that I thought we had the right fight, the right professionalism. Not sure what was lost in translation. There has to be some ownership on the court, and I'll take all the ownership in the world. This is my team, and I lead it, and I'm embarrassed, but I can't physically get us organized. I can't physically be into the basketball. I can't physically talk and call out reds and physically call out coverages, and it's I'm not. And by the way, I'm not blaming players. That's not. I own this. I own this, but going to need some ownership on the court as well.
Which leads to the last issue that makes the Lakers the clown show of the league: the handling of Brony James. Throughout LeBron's career, he had always voiced a desire to play on the same court with his son, not as opponents, but as teammates. And the Lakers, who value publicity over winning, didn't miss the chance to draft Brony James as the 55th overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft. Now, this is despite many scouts saying that he shouldn't be drafted because he lacked the necessary skills to play at the NBA level. Others said that he would be a G League lifer. And I'm not here to say that Brony cannot someday become a good NBA player, but it's safe to say that if he wasn't LeBron's son, he wouldn't have the opportunity to be anywhere close to an NBA court. But since the organization yearns for the flash over the substance, they made sure in the opening game of the season that LeBron and Brony would make history as they played on the court together as teammates, as the first father and son tandem in the NBA. This came in a win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, despite Bronny not being ready. He didn't score any points in that game either. He sat on the bench for a couple of more games before being sent down to the G League. And the favoritism didn't stop there. It was reported that Bronny didn't have to travel for any G League away games. But that changed, and now he's doing well. All he needed was some playtime at the appropriate level so he could get some experience. But the Laker brass couldn't figure out the obvious. Look, I know a lot of Laker fans, and many of them blame LeBron James for the team's misfortunes. They call him a coach killer, a player that only cares about his stats, and chasing Michael Jordan. They say things will be better once he's out of a Laker uniform. But he's only a small piece of the problem. You have to blame the front office. They're the ones responsible for this mess. Take your pick. Rambis, Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, or possibly all three. As long as they're calling the shots, like the Cowboys, this team will forever drown in mediocrity. Feel free to leave a comment. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.